Hey there, what I see is people letting their businesses run their lives versus them leading their business to love their life. I see this in corporate jobs, and I see where we step into expectations that other people have of us that do not honor us and allow us to lead our own life. Welcome to this episode, and I'm glad you're here to listen.
From the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. My heart is happy this morning to get to talk to Megan Schwan. And I want to tell you how I met Megan. And look at that smile on her face for those of you watching on YouTube and on Facebook. Like there's just this glow and this joy that comes from Megan. And that's part of what intrigued me, because she's had some pretty heavy stuff happening in her life in the last few years, and some pretty great stuff too. She's the mother of 4 beautiful children, and she owns a business that she has very quickly made very successfully, financially and otherwise. Success can be measured in a lot of things. And so the fact that you're doing all of this and just moved to Florida, and, and this is a couple months, you'll be listening to this a couple months after she's moved, but like all of this that you've done, when I met you, we were in Chicago and we were going through this program with our good friend, Aaron Marcus. And I'm speechless, which is not something that happens very often for me, Megan, but I'm like kind of speechless at just how in awe I am of you. And, for the lack of better word, you are a badass. Like you are someone that like you have this like leadership and compassion and empathy, all of this stuff that I talk about, and it's all in one package. And I love that. So I'm so excited to introduce you to our listeners. And I'm going to have you kind of describe a little bit about yourself and what you do in the world. And then we're just going to take off and have a conversation about how you're leading your lit up life.
Sounds good. Thanks for that beautiful introduction, Debbie. I appreciate it. And yes, I am Megan. I am the CEO and founder of Sidekick Accounting. And we empower business owners to understand and use their numbers to grow profitable and successful businesses by helping them with bookkeeping, tax prep, and tax planning. So it's a lot of fun. I get to do what I'm doing myself, which is part of the fun is I get to take my own experiences and growing my own business and help our clients build their own businesses that way as well. So it's a lot of fun. And yes, 4 kids. They range in ages. There's 16, 10, 4, and 3, although my 2 little guys on the bottom will be 5 and 4 this fall. So they keep me busy. So when I'm not doing business, I'm doing the kid life.
That's awesome.
So,
and Megan, do you have three boys and 1 girl?
Yeah, my oldest is my daughter, and then 3 boys on the back end. So they're busy.
I bet so. And Megan, start us out. Tell us, like, what did you do before you started your own business?
So my story related to that, I feel like starts earlier than when I started my business, as most people go. But mine actually starts in high school. So I was a teen mom. And when I got pregnant my junior year, I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I had an knack for accounting. And so one of my teachers kind of guided me in that way. I liked how it made sense and fit together. And I was good at it, and I knew I could make a good career out of it. So that's kind of where my story in the accounting world, I feel like, started. And then I graduated from college, got a full-time job as a bookkeeper, or as an accounts payable analyst, actually, at a company. And I did that for a couple of years and got pregnant, got married and pregnant during that time, and had my second child. And basically decided not to go back to work full time. So I got a part-time job as a bookkeeper and did that. And that was kind of what started me on the journey to small business bookkeeping was from there, from that point forward. So there's lots of details in between, but I don't want to drown out too much, but that's kind of how I got started. So I was working in accounting and then lost my job and kind of had to figure out what to do next. So I figured I was doing the bookkeeping for the landscaping company, mostly from home at that point, and I could probably do that for other companies. And that's kind of what started my entrepreneur journey, was out of necessity of being able to support my family. And I've been doing that since. I worked part-time for a year while after I started my job, but then I've been full-time in it since that point. So it's been about 7 years that I've been full-time in my business, and we've grown very quickly, like you said, in different stages along the way. Added 2 kids, got divorced, all in the mix of there. So it's been quite the journey, but I love it, and I couldn't imagine going back to work for anybody else ever again.
Right. I understand that. And Megan, one of the key things, like the word resiliency keeps coming out to me, and there's a couple of avenues I'd really like to explore in this. And one is, you mentioned back in high school, like the importance of having a mentor. You had a teacher that kind of guided you in that way. Tell me, like, when you think about what you're doing and how you show up in the world, you're mentoring businesses. Like, what, I guess for the lack of better terminology, what lights you up about that?
Oh, geez, that's such a great question. I think just like you had mentioned with resilience, and I think there's an aspect of business ownership and the people that run businesses that is just different from, like, let's say the general public would be. It takes a lot of resilience to be a successful long-term business owner or entrepreneur. It's just the nature of what we do. And so being able to be part of somebody else's journey on that and be able to have them obtain their goals or get, the light bulb moments that come from clarity, that's really what lights me up. Like, I love being able to give people, that piece of the puzzle in their journey of business growth and meeting their goals and all that. So that's a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. And then the other piece that I know about you, we haven't talked about yet in this, but this light that comes from you and the joy is a big piece of who you are, and it's about your faith. And so has that been something you've had all of your life? Like, tell us a little bit about your faith journey.
Yeah. So I grew up in the church, in an Assemblies of God, which is a Christian denomination church. So it's been part of me all from birth, I guess you could say. But for me personally, I want to say probably around 7 or 8 was when I really made it my own, and was able to kind of start that journey with God myself. And, I've made mistakes, obviously. I was a teen pregnant. So, there's things that go with that you're not supposed to do. So was not a perfect person in any sense of the word, but it's been my foundation, my faith and my spirituality with God and Jesus Christ is something that has really been a foundation for me. And I've seen God show up in my life so many times that I just can't explain it away in any other way. And it's really kept me grounded through some really, really tough challenges in life, and is my source of joy and why I can keep smiling and keep showing up for myself and my kids and clients and employees and everybody that depends on me. So
that's fantastic.
It's been a long time for that too.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, Megan. And when you think about your faith and you think about life, right? Like, there are just things that happen in life, and we all have these things. But tell me how, because one of the things that I'm really in awe of about you is this ability to show harmony. I don't like the word balance, right? Because I feel like it sets us up for failure, but you're the closest thing I've seen to having balance, meaning like the work and the business that you have that also supports other people and their families, because you employ numerous employees, your family and everything that goes along there, and then just life stuff that happens, right? Like we all have those things. Explain to us like how all of that, like it seems like it's like a globe and there's all these puzzle pieces and you've got all the puzzle pieces together. Now, some of that may be perceived, we were joking about that before, but like tell us how that is, because it's big to have 4 kids. You moved to Florida from Wisconsin to, owning your business with how many employees do you have?
7.
7 employees. And approximately how many clients do you serve?
About 85 now on a monthly basis. And then we have annual clients as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so kind of what's the magic sauce? Like faith is a big piece of that, right? But and that's why I segued here. Yeah. And that's right. Kind of why I segued here. But what's the magic sauce? Like tell us how you do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely is a realization that there is no such thing as balance, for one. It's just what I like to call it is a shifting of priorities. So some days, the kids will be the priority. Not that they're not all the time, but they'll be the main priority of the day, if you will, or of the hour. And then there'll be other days, where something else is the priority. And so that for me is kind of how I manage everything. It's also understanding that getting help from people. And I think this was something I realized as a teen mom, because I needed help, at that point. So like sometimes like I went through this phase where it was like, I can't ask for help, nothing like that, or expect help, or, whatever. I have to do everything myself. But then it got to a point where it was like, I couldn't do that, and I really had to be humble in a lot of ways and accept the help. And now it's like, well, I can't do this without other people, really, in the true essence of things. I can't run a business with all these employees and clients and take care of 4 kids and keep my house clean by myself or cook every night or whatever else. Like I need people in my corner to be able to do those things. And the same is true with on the business side as well. Like I can't do all the things there, which is why I have employees, because then things get delegated out, and that for me just kind of like increases my capacity to have an impact, and that's why we're working on growing our business as well, continuing to grow. Because I've been at that crossroads too, where it's like, do we stay smaller scale? Do we continue to get bigger? And the reality is that I can have a bigger impact if I include more people on the journey of building life and business. And that's how I do it. I have a great support system, and where I don't have, unpaid support, I pay for the support, and that's really how I'm able to manage all the things that need to be managed. And then just that shifting priorities and putting myself first too, because there's a level of that has to happen. Like self-care is super important, making sure I'm sleeping and, eating better and exercising and making sure that's good, making sure I take time off, because I can't show up the right way if I'm always going, so like think about it. So just kind of switching those perspectives of, you can be Wonder Woman or, like you said, a badass, but you can't do all of the things if you are trying to do it yourself. So I don't try to do things all by myself.
That's so true, Megan. And I heard this, and I wish I could claim it, but it was Rachel Hollis who talked about a vase and how we have this unending supply of energy. And part of that, comes from God, and then the support that we receive from other people. And most people take that vase and they cut off that unending supply and they pour out into other people. And then it starts to become resentful, and then you're pouring out, right? Like there's nothing left. And so then you have to refill, and it's like a pause button that no one seems to be able to have a pause button. And instead, if they stood tall and just kept having the unending supply, the overflow then just goes to people. And that's something I see with you, is that the overflow, because I've even noticed, like when you moved, you took a break because you're very active on helping your clients, not just with the monthly tasks that they need done, but providing videos, and some of those videos have like pointers on what to do for taxes and, you know, tax savings things, and
Yeah.
what are KPIs and all of these things that business owners, that's
Yeah.
not their level of genius. And so I've seen you as a model kind of take a break from that and say, we're going to be on pause for a couple of weeks because we're moving and we're needing to focus over here. And so what a great way too that you're mentoring other business owners, not just in their numbers and how to grow and scale with that, but also how to have that harmony in their life where they can shift the priorities and look at what needs the focus at the time. So hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been a
And
journey
so-
learning that.
It is a journey, isn't it? And so Megan, let's talk about that. If you could say, other than the things that we've talked about, right? Because those are big gold nuggets there. But if you could say, here's 3 things that I've learned along the journey of leading my lit up life, what would those 3 things be? So we've already talked about faith, and we've already talked about kind of this shifting priorities perspective piece.
Mhm.
What other 3 things
Yeah.
would you say?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I just think that life is such a journey, and I think there has to be a level of like adjustment that has to happen. So one thing I really enjoy is putting together goals, you know, and referring back to them. Like every year, I do with my kids. For New Year's, we do vision boards together, and it's,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
so
the little
cool.
guys don't really have it, but they're in the habit of doing it now. We've been doing it for a few years now, and really since my divorce was kind of when we started doing that, or my separation from my ex, because that was a really impactful moment to all of us, our whole family. So doing things that help us to adjust, or help me to adjust to the next level, is one big thing that I would say helps to leading my lit up life. The other thing is to do things that I enjoy, like really like taking that time to be able to do those things, because you get caught up in the day-to-day life so easily, and then you kind of lose a little bit of yourself, I think. So I'm a big and then I have 4 kids, you know, so, and they take up a lot of time, but I know at some point they will not be with me anymore. And I have to still function as a person. So I really try to spend time on me as an individual versus me as a mom or a business owner or, you know, friend or whatever it is. Just like really finding out who I am and what I enjoy doing and spending time doing that. That helps a lot with that. And then the third thing I would say, this was a tough question, Debbie. I'm like, never thought of it. What other thing? You know, I've always been the person that sees the world or looks at the world as the glass half full. I'm that person, you know, and I would have to say that that's probably the third and biggest thing is I always, no matter what, try to find the silver lining in everything that happens. And that really helps to keep me focused and centered and moving forward, because, you know, it can be really hard in life. You can have some really, really hard moments. And I think that part has been the other piece that really just keeps helping me to drive forward and not get stuck, and really, you know, live life to its fullest, you know, and be able to help people do the same thing. So.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And that's, to me, that's one of the beautiful things is you take what you've learned, and then most people think accounting, we have to go get our taxes done at the end of the year, but it's so much more than that. And that's where you come in and you help people. I wrote down 3 words while you were talking: stay focused, centered, and moving forward, right? So you help other businesses do that by knowing their numbers and really centering on and focusing on what's important in their business, and then continue to move forward at all times. So let's get really tactical here towards the end. And if you had 3 things for people, I don't know why 3 seems to be my number today, Megan, but if you had 3 things that you could say to people, and it could be both from a personal tax perspective or a business tax perspective, what would you say would be 3 priorities that you would say, if you don't have this, go do this now, other than call you?
Yeah, call me is number one. No. So 3 things from a business perspective, right? Is that where we're going?
Sure.
With on this? Okay. So 1 is to make sure that you have your numbers in order. And I know it sounds very cliche, but it's very, very true. And one of the big reasons for that too is with the current landscape of things and the bills that are going through Congress right now, compliance is going to become more and more of a area of importance than maybe it has been in the past, especially for small business owners. So make sure you have your numbers together, your receipts managed, all of your boxes checked and I's dotted and T's crossed, because that's going to become something that is going to become more and more important to having a successful and stable small business. 2 is to find yourself a community of people to talk to. I think that's been one of the big things for me. If you don't have some kind of a network that you can bounce ideas off of or talk to another business owner, like find your tribe and find those people, because that's been a huge part to why I've been so successful. And there's just an energy you get from being around other people that are doing the same kind of thing that you're doing, not the same industry per se, but the same work, in that we're trying to build our own things, right? And trying to grow and have an impact. So find your people and find your tribe. And then just in general, I think not necessarily from a business perspective or an individual perspective, probably both, I would just say, I would encourage you to be a little bit like me in that respect, is find the silver lining. Like I tell my kids all the time, there's always going to be things that get you down, or you don't like my son right now, he really doesn't like one of his teachers and he's having a really hard time with it. And I'm just like, well, find something good, to focus on, and then let that be the thing that helps you through this year, because sometimes there are things you just can't change. There are things that you can't change. So find the lesson, or find, the hope, find that little light, in whatever situation that you're going through, because the good thing about life is that a lot of our situations and moments are temporary, and it won't be this long-term thing. It's just getting through whatever valley you might be in and just keeping moving forward and helping, and finding that silver lining is something that can really help continue on through that process. And the same with business ownership, individual wise, there's going to be low moments in business ownership. You get real lonely and kind of discouraged sometimes, but you keep going and then you find that high again. So that's the 3rd thing I would encourage people to do as well.
Oh, fantastic. Megan, thank you so much for sharing all of this information. And for those of you listening, if you want to get a hold of Megan, I'm going to ask Megan to share what the best place to go find her. And I will say we'll put her website in the show notes, so take a look at those. And Megan, if somebody did want to find out more about you, how they could work with you to plan for tax strategy, to plan for their business and setting their business up correctly, if they're starting a business or if they're in business and they want to get a hold of their numbers and really understand their numbers, where should they go to find out more about you and to work with you?
Yes, I'm on all the most of the platforms. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And then my website is a really great place if you want to book an appointment right away. All of that is automated on there really nicely. Otherwise, you can feel free to email me as well. It'd probably be the other big way to get a hold of me. And that's super simple too. It's info@sidekick-accounting.com. So just the same way as our website goes. And yeah, that'd be the best way to do it.
Thank you again. And for those of you listening, if you want to find out more about me, I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money, and then they need to go see Megan on how to capitalize on that, doing what they love without sacrificing their life and what's important to them. And so please feel free to go out to www.leadyourlituplife.com. And thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Debbie.